Do you know what it really means to be brave? I can tell you. It takes heart and a people who, after failing once, twice, many times, to stop, get up, and try again. It takes a leader who says, we will rise from the ashes and try again. Who put his people, their freedom, and the country's democracy first. What does it mean to be brave? It means being open to opportunities and overcoming the fear of exposure. It's brave to focus on more than just the tangible. Bravery, it's not about shouting loudly and making bold moves. It's about continuity. To prove time and again that we have what it takes, that we're a force to be reckoned with. But it's not enough to only acknowledge our faults. We have to be brave enough to intentionally address them.
This is the year in which we will turn the tide on corruption.
Because it takes bravery to keep going, to keep growing. It takes bravery to take a stand in the midst of a revolution, to take a leap of faith in a climate of opportunity, and stand at the ready for what the future might bring. To welcome those who push the boundaries and being open to the unknown, because it takes bravery to realize potential. What I'm trying to say is that it's bravery that makes all the difference. Invest in South Africa, the brave future.
Wouldn't you like to explore a country where two worlds intersect, where first world infrastructure meets an emerging market, where science and technology enjoy rapid advancement, a land where innovation creates a dynamic environment for growth, where a market of almost 60 million people provide you with the perfect springboard to access a continent of 1.3 billion people? Welcome to the future. Invest in South Africa.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the board of directors of Brand South Africa who are joining us today. Every year in August, South Africa marks Women's Month. The country pays tribute to the more than 20,000 women who marched to the Union buildings on the 9th of August 1956 in order to protest against the extension of the past laws to women. This was a system that was meant to control women and to reduce them to passive beings at the mercy of men. In 2021, South Africa celebrates Women's Month under the theme, Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights for an Equal Future. The concept of generation equality is a global campaign and links South Africa's efforts to the global efforts for gender equality by 2030. Welcome to the Brand South Africa hosted webinar under the theme, Support Available for Women Who Wish to Trade Globally. We are here to honor women. We are here to celebrate women. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also here to recognize those men whom we call progressive men, the men that support the cause for women. You are all welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have more than 1,000 people who are joining us in different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom for those who have registered. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us as we explore the issues that affect women in trade. To start off our program, we are going to have an address by Her Excellency Ambassador Xolelwa Mlumbi Peter. She is South Africa's ambassador to the World Trade Organization. Ambassador Xolelwa Mlumbi Peter has served as South Africa's chief negotiator and deputy director general, which is DDG, in the International Trade and Economic Division at the Department of Trade and Industry, which is now known as DTIC. She has led South Africa's trade negotiations with various partners, including the European Union, the United Kingdom, and at the regional and African continental level, she has led trade negotiations, bilateral negotiations and engagements under SADC, under Southern African Customs Union, and also the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. She has also held negotiations on behalf of South Africa in a number of multilateral platforms such as the G20, BRICS, and the Commonwealth. Ms. Mlumbi Peter, who's Ambassador Xolelwa Mlumbi Peter, is also accredited at the Center of Effective Dispute Resolution as a mediator. Over to the Ambassador.
Good afternoon. I thank BRED-SA for the invite and for the opportunity to be part of this important discussion. The high-level panel report on the economic empowerment of women states that investing in women's economic empowerment is intrinsic to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. While SDG 5 may focus on gender equality, this fundamental issue cuts across all 17 SDGs. Hence, there can be no sustainable development without the economic advancement of women. An International Trade Center, the ITC survey of 20 developing countries reveals striking disparities between men's and women's participation in trade. Only 1 in 5 businesses that trade internationally are owned or managed by a woman. Such gender differences are generally attributed to the fact that female-owned businesses lack the resources that are needed to expand into global markets. New trends in global trade, especially the rise in services, the importance of global value chains, and the digital economy are opening up important economic opportunities for women. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of these and the need for local and regional production hubs in key sectors of the economy to address South Africa as well as Africa's strategic vulnerabilities. Women must take their rightful place in the economy, and trade has the potential to achieve this important objective. National initiatives are necessary to promote female entrepreneurship and trade, and these must be targeted at addressing the barriers that limit women's participation in trade. They must promote financial inclusion and access to trade finance and enhance the participation of women enterprises in public procurement. Public procurement is one of the key policy tools that South Africa continues to use to promote localization and industrialization. For countries to trade on a sustainable basis, they must produce. There is a need to increase the participation of women in the manufacturing sector. The Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the DTIC, has sector-specific incentive programs that are targeted and can support women-led enterprises to be competitive. The information on these programs is available on the DTIC website, and there is a guide that lists all the available programs, including the requirements and conditions for funding. The incentives are applicable to all firms that are based in South Africa. Therefore, do not discriminate as long as company is producing in South Africa. For companies that are interested to invest, we have established Invest SA, a division of the DTIC that focuses on investment promotion, facilitation, and aftercare. It aims to improve the investment climate and ease of doing business. The facilitation and aftercare function is a dedicated service to coordinate, fast-track, unblock, and reduce red tape in government. Invest SA, therefore, serves as a one-stop shop for investors. In order to understand the global trade environment and the opportunities that it provides, one has to understand the global trade rules and specific standards to be met in exporting a product to a specific market, especially in relation to agriculture, which has applicable sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Both the DTIC as well as the Department of Agriculture Rural Development provide support in this regard. The DTIC also has an exporter development program that assists especially MSMEs as well as women-led enterprises to access international markets. It also organizes trade and investment missions that give exposure to international markets. Distinguished participants, South Africa is a party to a number of preferential trade agreements that either provide duty-free treatment or preferential access to key strategic markets. In Africa, these include the Southern Africa Customs Union, which allows duty-free intra-SACU trade with a common external tariff applicable to goods entering from outside the Union. SACU includes Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Namibia, and of course, South Africa. We also have free trade agreements with the Southern Africa Development Community, which includes 15 Southern African states. The tripartite FTA with COMESA, EAC, and SADC, which constitutes 2/3 of the African market. And we are also party to the recently launched African Continental FTA, which will enable free movement of goods and services across the continent, as well as unlock a market of 1.3 billion people. The AfCFTA is an important development that will spur growth across the continent. And even before the launch of the AfCFTA, the African market was very important and strategic for South Africa, accounting for over 27% of our global exports. Globally, we have the following free trade agreements: an economic partnership agreement with the European Union, an FTA with EFTA, which includes Switzerland and Liechtenstein and Norway, an FTA with the UK, a preferential trade agreement, which is a limited scope agreement that covers just over 1,000 tariff lines with South American countries through Mercosur, which includes Brazil. Last but not least, we have access to the US market through the African Growth and Opportunities Act, AGOA. And all of these agreements provide huge market access opportunities for companies that are based in South Africa. To ensure that trade enhances opportunities for everyone, regardless of gender, we need to assess the potential impact of trade rules and develop policy responses that are based on evidence. South Africa, therefore, does not believe in paying lip service to the integration of women-led enterprises, but believes in addressing the core barriers that affect the effective integration of women-led enterprises in trade. The World Trade Organization plays an important part, and we are part of the WTO, and it facilitates a conducive trade policy environment. The WTO is a forum where members, including South Africa, negotiate and agree upon non-discriminatory and facilitative trade rules that govern global trade. While none of the agreements specifically focus on women empowerment, the institution provides a transparent and predictable environment which protects businesses, including those that are run by women, from the risk and uncertainty created by opaque and unpredictable trade rules. The WTO is led by a dynamic as well as well-respected African woman in DG, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. More specifically, the WTO members are increasingly introducing national trade policy interventions that seek to empower women. Between 2014 and 2018, almost 70% of all trade policy reviews reported at least one trade policy that supports women economic empowerment. As I said, the WTO ensures predictability in trade. However, we are concerned that there are inequities and imbalances in some of the existing multilateral trade rules that constrain effective participation of women-led enterprises in global trade. And these lock in first-mover advantages to key industrialized nations. For instance, some rules diminish the possibility for technology transfer, some constrain the use of localization, which is a key policy tool for industrialization, or limit the policy space needed to nurture infant industries. These allow the first movers to keep leading positions in sectors of importance to developing countries, or in emerging industries, including high-tech, knowledge-intensive industries deemed critical for future prosperity. For women-led enterprises to thrive and for them to be effectively integrated in global trade, we need to address these imbalances. And this means rebalancing trade rules and reform the WTO for inclusivity and development. This necessitates the recognition that trade is not an end in itself, but trade rules must be designed to raise standards of living, ensure full employment, and promote sustainable development and inclusivity as envisaged in the agreement establishing the WTO. At an international level, the ITC has mainstreamed women empowerment into its work through the Women in Trade program. This initiative seeks to increase the participation of women entrepreneurs and producers in global value chains and ensure that they enjoy greater economic benefits from participating in international trade. For example, the ITC has the She Trades initiative, which seeks to galvanize global efforts to connect 1 million women entrepreneurs to access international markets. Through the She Trades mobile app, women entrepreneurs can share information about their companies, increase their visibility, and expand their networks. The online platform is user-friendly and can be accessed via www.shetrades.com. The initiative also fosters collaboration between business support organizations, cooperatives, as well as private sector companies in general. In addition, there's a global platform for action on sourcing from women vendors, which helps connect a network of over 50,000 women vendors to partners who collectively purchase goods and services that are worth more than $1 trillion US. And there are also intergovernmental or multilateral forums such as Women 20, which is an engagement that supports the efforts made by the G20 towards achieving inclusive growth and raises the profile of gender issues. And it also helps foster gender-related discussions and policy actions. In conclusion, national policy measures are therefore critical to unlock the participation of women in trade. And they continue to remain the cornerstone for promoting women empowerment and participation in global trade. We must also leverage multilateral platforms such as the ITC so that women are supported to understand the opportunities that exist in global trade, but also to effectively integrate into the international trade environment. I thank you.
So I'm a pediatric radiologist and the CEO of Envision a Deep AI. I have 20 years of experience working in public hospitals, and I've also participated in outreach efforts throughout Africa. I think as Africans, and specifically as South Africans, we know our problems more than anyone, right? And we can provide solutions to these problems. So funding would be required in order for us to be able to build more solutions, and collaborating with other countries would be mutually beneficial. I am so proud to be a South African. We are so diverse. We have the talent. We have the perseverance. We have the tenacity. And most of all, as South Africans, we have the resilience.
Thank you very much to the ambassador for that macro perspective in terms of women and global trade. Ladies and gentlemen, you will have seen in the visuals, in the video that we played, that there is a special stalwart who is depicted in the pictures there. This is because the year 2021 marks the 150th anniversary of the birth of the liberation struggle heroine and human rights campaigner in the name of Me Charlotte Manya Maxeke. So 2021 is regarded as the year of Charlotte Maxeke by the government of South Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to do today is to close the gap that research has revealed to us. We see that firms with majority female ownership are less in global markets than their male counterparts. And so there's been research that has been done by the OCO Global, and they say that there are 3 reasons for this occurrence. The first is that as of the end of last year, only 47% of women participated in the global labor force, in comparison to 74% of men. And the second reason is that globally, only 1 in 3 businesses are owned by women, and these companies tend to be small and often operate in the informal sector. The third reason that also Global states is that women-owned firms are vastly underrepresented in international trade, with only 15% of those companies exporting from their country. So this is the gap that we are trying to address today, to make sure that women are active participants and equal players in global trade. Now, to start off the conversation, we have our esteemed speaker in the form of Ms. Anne Githuku Shongwe. She is the United Nations Women Representative for South Africa's multi-country office. This is referred to as SAMCO in short. This is the office which is responsible for women's empowerment and gender equality in Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland and Namibia, as well as South Africa, where this office is being based. Anne brings with her role 20 years of experience as a senior international development professional, including the United Nations Development Program across Africa, and also managing United States scholarships for African graduate scholars. And can you please share with us the programs that the United Nations, particularly UN Women, has initiated in terms of empowering women so that they can be able to operate on a global scale?
Thank you so much, Pumela, and good morning, good afternoon to all the those who are present. And I just want to recognize the DDG who spoke so profoundly about the work, her work with WTO. And really just congratulating Brand SA for this opportunity. From us at UN Women, and you're right, we work with UNDP, we work with ITC, the International Trade Center, on their program on she trades. And so indeed, it is a multi-UN body that works on these issues of trade. But I do want to start by saying that UN Women, when the Continental Free Trade Agreement was first announced, UN Women actually conducted a study, which many of you would be able to find online, on the opportunities for women in terms of the Continental Free Trade Agreement, and really emerged with identifying opportunities in 3 areas. The first is women informal cross-border traders. The second one is looking at value chain analysis and where women can take advantage of regional and global value chains. And the third one is about affirmative procurement for women's participation in trade. And so just if I walk through those 3, it's very important to look at the issue of women informal cross-border traders, because as you said rightfully, both you, Pumela, and the DDG, is that the issue, majority of women in Africa are in the informal sector. You know, ironically, as you know, in West Africa, women's contribution is over 50% of the economy of the economies, say, of Ghana, Mali, and all of this is attributed to trade, but it is informal trade, and it is informal trade where there are very high transaction costs, where there's very poor infrastructure, there's a lot of insecurity, corruption, and harassment, and really lack of real facilitation for them. And so one of the big things that we've been working on, and we started partnering, for instance, with COMESA, to be able to look at how to create an enabling environment, even in terms of cross-border trading, for women to be protected in terms of sexual harassment, but also to give them favorable, trade regimens between, at the border. And because many of them are very small traders, that was even to try to create, a free access across the borders, and so really trying to remove some of the trade barriers and some of the trade tax from women businesses. So this is one of the big areas, and so we have different programs across in Senegal. We have programs in Zimbabwe that are looking very much at this issue of cross-border trading with women in the informal sector, and have created, market opportunities by really trying to remove the barriers, but also just facilitating opportunities and simplifying trade regimes for women businesses. In fact, 3-4 years ago, we held a massive sort of fair trade exhibition that showed where women in cross-border trading are sitting. A lot of them are in agriculture, but they're also in small goods, and especially depending on which countries have, because of the challenges in the Zimbabwe market or in the Mozambique market, and yet you have a bigger markets in South Africa or Uganda, Tanzania, you find a lot of trading for needs that are, for the weaker economies from some of the bigger economies, just for regular needs, fast-moving goods. The other one really is around value chains. And if you look at the issue of the value chains, of course, the majority across Africa are in the agricultural sector. And so we have had a very strong program across, I think we now have about 15 countries across Africa who are part of what we call the CSA, which is Climate Smart Agriculture. And it works and looks at what are the opportunities across the value chain in the agricultural sector. In South Africa, we've been working on horticulture, looking at support in terms of certification, packaging, labeling. As we do this, really trying to pull larger databases, because one of the biggest issues is when opportunities are put on the table, we keep hearing that we don't know where the women are, we can't find enough women, so how can we assist them with that? So you may have been seeing in the social media UN Women trying to gather databases, and in South Africa alone, well, we have about 5,000 women in our database. Some of them are in trade, some are not, but it is one of the big areas that we've been working on. In West Africa, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Rwanda, there's a lot of work on organic body products, really looking at the shea butter, for instance. That's been quite a big one, looking at the shea butter value chain, as well as cocoa butter. Those are two big ones, trading with the US. And a lot of how we assist is really to support the quality control, but also helping them with some of the export documentation and making sure that we're facilitating and supporting the shipping processes. But this differs from country to country. And again, horticulture and fresh produce are two of the big ones in East Africa, including Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi. And these are very, very important ones. But I think ultimately it's being able to really identify the value chains and make it obvious and accessible to women across all these value chains. Because what we find is a lot of women don't know about the opportunities. I'm not sure what your experience has been with DTIC, but I would imagine that with a lot of the exhibitions, the trade missions that you hold with women businesses, that it's probably the same people who are going time and time again. So how to increase the baseline so that more and more women can actually participate across the value chain is one big area that we've needed to work on. The other thing, of course, is that the policy environment hasn't been very strong, and there are areas where there continues to be discrimination, which assumptions are built in trade that assume that you are large traders, that you're big enough, that you have the kind of access to financing which many women don't have access to. The third one, of course, is preferential procurement. This is one that we've been working on very closely in Kenya, in Rwanda, in South Africa, and we're very pleased that the President Ramaphosa put it on the table during his term of office at the African Union, and we now have that 30% preferential procurement on the table. For South Africa is 40% preferential procurement. But the big thing is ensuring that the guidelines, that the regulations are very, very clear in terms of women's participation. And so we've been working very strongly on the policy side to ensure that the preferential procurement opportunities are available for women. The other big area is information. Women don't know where the opportunities are. So being able to provide information to women businesses, but also building that database and then creating those linkages. And then finally, speaking of really investing in the private sector and in the public sector and getting them and requiring them to meet that 40% challenge. We had an excellent experience with local government where we were able to walk them through a process where they moved their preferential procurement from 3% to 40% within a 6-month period. So really it's working, as you said, Pumela, working with the men. Many of them are the procurement officers, they're the finance managers in local government, they're the ones who buy. And trying to make sure that they buy from women is a critical area, and really requiring that there is serious accountability and monitoring to ensure that both in the private sector and in the public sector, this is paid out. So this really is the story of the areas that we've been working and really trying to unlock what we've seen are huge barriers in the Continental Free Trade Agreement, and ensuring that trade information portals are put in place, that the regional single window systems are enabled, that the certification of goods and services are available for women, and that free trade areas are encouraged more and more to ensure that women businesses, however small, can actually leverage those opportunities. And so investing in small women businesses is one thing, but investing in those who buy from women is a bigger one, because if they open up their doors, and as you said, that 45% of women's are absent, the men who lead these institutions, if they were to make the commitment to buy from women, and buy at 40%, 50%, and not 1% and 2% as we know, then it changes the game entirely, and women businesses will have greater access. We're working across the region. We have programs, including in Southern Africa, in Namibia, in Eswatini, in South Africa, and Botswana, that we're working with UNDP. So this is, all these areas that I've been combing through are ones that we're doing in the region. So I'll stop there and wait for the questions later. Thank you. Over to you, Pumela.
I think from your presentation, what we get indeed is that when more women work, economies grow. And I hope that the rest of the speakers will also touch on the term that is called pink tariffs, those tariffs that disadvantage women. And I also like the fact that you are calling for male allyship. I mean, in 2020, we woke up to this word allies, that we need allies for every cause that we are trying to achieve. So for the women in global trade, we need men allyship. That's why when some men asked me if they could join this webinar, I said, certainly with pleasure. This is just to honor and celebrate women. However, if I may put it plainly, we are in this together. Thank you, and we will come back later for questions. For now, we will go to our next speaker, which is What we call her Madam President Cindy Mzamo Chabalala. She is the president of the Circle of Business Women. President Cindy Mzamo is the founder and the president of the Circle of Global Business Women, a global women organization that elevates African women in global forums and platforms, and is aimed at creating a platform for women to trade, to connect, to learn, and to go global, if I may put it that way. She has held executive leadership positions, both in private sector and public sector within South Africa. And she's also a member of the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa Energy and Green Economy Working Group. She's an active gender advocate. She is active in education, socio-economic development within Africa and globally. Over to you, Madam President Cindy.
Your Excellencies, Ambassador Kolelwa, Mlumbi Peter, Miss N. Gituku Shongwe, thank you very much for the powerful presentation that you actually presented to us this morning, talking about the role of women in trade. Indeed, we are humbled and honored as the Circle of Global Business Women to participate in this powerful presentation that take women to the next level in terms of trade. As the Circle of Global Business Women, we are a network of intelligent and innovative women in the marketplace, and also working with all women formations in the global fraternity. And I would like to actually thank the South African brand, the South African High Commission in the UK for giving us this opportunity as well, because we launched the circle on the 6th of August. And today we are at a Brand South Africa event talking about women in trade and how can they really take the space. And I'm sure you've heard what the ambassador has said, the challenges, and also giving us solutions. And also Sis Anne has actually said a lot of mouthful about what we can do in the global markets. But I think the important part, which is really, really important for us, is to actually look at women leadership. How do we start pivoting women to take their rightful position in the trade negotiations, like what the ambassador was talking about? She was a powerful trade negotiator, and today she's an ambassador. And how do we bring forth more women in terms of decision making so that they'll be able to take that rightful position? And also, as the Circle of Global Business Women, I'd like to actually get straight to the programs that we are working on as we speak right now with our sponsor, the French Embassy. We have partnered with Business France. We have partnered with the French South African Chamber of Commerce. We have partnered with Amina International. The critical thing that we're looking at is exchange programs where we'll share experiences of women in South Africa, trading with women in France, trading with women in the 50 networks that we're going to be working with in the continent. So it's very important for us to actually look at that. And also, this is how we're going to create an enabling environment, because the most important thing is to actually create an enabling environment for women to participate. And the second one, I mean, the International Chamber of Commerce is actually sharing more information, because as the Circle of Global Business Women, we are partners to the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris through the Climate Change Coalition Chamber. They do a lot of programs where they support women in trade in terms of import and export. And I would like to challenge all our listeners today, or all our viewers today, if you want to trade, you must know the ins and outs of trade, which is what is the import and export, because you need to understand those technicalities so that you'll be able to actually go and trade in the marketplace. So with those words, I would like to say and encourage women to participate and understand in the trade environment and make sure that they're trading in the environment of trade in the marketplace. The second one is the participation of women in value chains. I'm sure Sis Anne has spoken about it. As the Circle of Global Business Women, we've partnered with the Department of Agriculture in South Africa. We are hosting a powerful Women in Agribusiness event that is actually going to be talking about the role of women in agribusiness, not in agriculture, because money is in the value chain in agriculture, not in produce. So now we want to actually make sure women take their rightful position in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, in partnership with our strategic partner, which is the French Chamber of Commerce, and also working with the French Embassy, bringing in critical skills from France, where we'll talk about capacity building, show their rightful position and trade in the marketplace. So these are the powerful programs that we're embarking on, and make sure that women will be able to actually trade and make sure that they take their rightful position. In terms of our relationship with the South African High Commission in London, we'll be having a meeting with the South African Chamber of Commerce chairman, and in the next coming few weeks. And that as well, we'll be discussing exchange programs through trade, because we are speaking about practical solutions to women so that they'll be able to be pivoted in the marketplace. And also, as the Circle of Global Business Women, we're also working with women on grassroots. They've got powerful products. There are artifacts that they're doing, looking at coming up with an e-entrepreneurship platform so that we'll be able to showcase these programs in the marketplace, so that they'll be able to run with them. They'll be able to showcase what is happening. For example, if we have an artifact from Durban, we showcase it in our own e-entrepreneurship platform in terms of global trade, so that our dearest sisters that are based in the US and the UK, they'll be able to see what powerful products that we're going to be able, because we need to be the voice of the voiceless, but we've got powerful women that can create those products, but they don't know where to take them in terms of access to markets. As the Circle, we're coming up with an avenue to facilitate so that they'll be able to actually trade in global markets and become the best of the best. So with those words, I'd like to say, we are indeed humbled and honored. We are coming with more programs at the Circle of Global Business Women, so that women will be able to actually facilitate and come up with trade opportunities and make sure that they trade with dignity and honor. I'd like to say, indeed, South Africa is alive with possibilities. My Act for Equal is achieving, women economic empowerment through access and control over economic resources. We just seen on Monday, the Department of International Relations in South Africa launching Mama Charlotte Maxeke's Economic Rights Justice initiative that will also bring women in the continent, where women will be actually doing trade fairs, where women will be also exchanging programs, not only looking into the continent, but access to global markets. But I think what Sis Anne mentioned in this platform, the key thing is access to information, how women get this information. And I think it's very important, so that they'll be able to know, where do they go from here? How do they take the next step and live and move forward in terms of trade? And also, in my last parting shot, I can't leave without saying what I have to say. I'm the co-convener for the Economic Justice Rights Coalition in South Africa. And we've seen what happened in Paris on the 2nd of July. So we are also in this global, platform, encouraging commitments, encouraging partnerships with women organizations, with global women formations that can partner with women, so that they can open up those doors for them to be able to trade, so that we can be able to participate. But also, my last parting shot as well, I would like to say that it's very important for us to also look at strategic, partnerships with the World Economic Forum, with G8, with G8, with G20, so that when these platforms are taking place globally, the voice of women is there, the voice of women is heard. And I know they are trying, our global leaders, to make sure that women are actually participating inclusively in these platforms. So would want to actually be a voice again to say thank you very much for having that inclusive strategy. As the Circle of Global Business Women this year, we've been invited to attend the Global Compact, the UN Global Compact conference that is going to take place in September. That's what we call inclusion, because women now are taking their rightful position in the marketplace to lead, and this is going to open more trade facilitation for women. So let us actually come together as women globally and drive the trade facilitation for women in the marketplace. And I'd like to actually end with a powerful note that says from Mama Charlotte Maxeke, because in South Africa, we are celebrating Mama Charlotte Maxeke. This is the year for Mama Charlotte Maxeke. It says, this work is not for yourselves. Kill that spirit of self. Do not live above people, but live with them. If you can rise, bring someone with you. And that's a spirit that I want us to live in this platform. Let us go and encourage all women that are connected to this platform today. Let us go encourage other women so that they'll be able to actually participate. Don't stay with the information that you've got today. Please pass it on so that each and every single woman will be able to be educated with the information that we have. And also, I'm proud to say, when we launched the Circle of Global Business Women on the 15th of April as our sponsor, the French Embassy, and thank you very much to President Macron. Thank you very much to Ambassador in South Africa for partnering with us as the Circle of Global Business Women to realize, our dream to connect with other gentle giants globally in terms of trade as a global women organization that is based in South Africa and in Africa. I'd like to actually, showcase a powerful video of one of our members who's going to also do an exhibition in London this coming weekend. Her name is Mandisa, and her work is called Nzwakazi Millenary. Thank you very much. This is what we do at the Circle of Global Business Women. We promote women. We give them opportunities. This is one practical example that we do on Mandisa. Thank you very much.
I'm the founder and creative at Nzwakazi Millenary. My favorite quote in life is, "No force can stop an idea whose time has come," by Victor Hugo. That quote is so important to me, and it means when it's your time, it is your time. Even when you are not ready, when it's time, it's time. Ingcango ziyavuleka, amathuba aza ngapha nangapha kuba ixesha lifikile. Naxa ixesha lakho lingelilo elakho, noba ungazama kangakanani na ixesha likafiki. Kodwa ngoku lixesha lifikile, kwa into yokuba mna ndihlale apha, ixesha lifikile. Unzwakazi Millenary ndamfumana ecaweni, being surrounded by people who are always wearing hats from the old apostolic church. I was always fascinated. And then the hats always represented me. However, I was never a person who was into fashion because I couldn't chase the time. This is in, tomorrow it's not in, this is this. I was always a person who was into timeless and classic pieces that I can pass on to my daughters, to my granddaughters even, because this was passed on to me by my grandmother. Nzwakazi ngunobuhle.
Thank you, Madam President of the Circle of Global Business Women. I think through the Circle of Business Women, we are learning that women who are participating in the economy have a positive impact on many aspects of the economic ecosystem. We learn that women hire women, and successful women become role models for the younger generation, and that there is more gender diversity, which leads to more diverse opinions and ideas and more innovation when women are encouraged to participate. And what we realize is also that empowered women focus on education for their children, and they also open more doors and access for more women. So thank you for creating this circle that is global, that women can tap into. We've got questions that are coming already, and we will make sure that we answer the questions at the end of when all the speakers have spoken. And speaking of generations, Our next speaker actually is a young woman, because we felt that it's important that we bring in the voice of young people to this conversation so that they can share their journey. Her name is Ati Hweku. She's a young global South African who is based in the United Kingdom. We wanted to be the voice for the youth. We wanted to be the voice for young women. Ati Hweku, ladies and gentlemen, holds a master's degree in actuarial science from Heriot-Watt University in the United Kingdom. She also holds a BSc in mathematical statistics at the University of Cape Town. Professionally, Ati has worked as an actuarial analyst at MMI Holdings and another company in South Africa. What is particular about her is that she has created Beta Sigmax math software. The math software aims to help learners to understand maths and learn it in a fun way through the use of graphics. She decided to launch the app as she felt that there was a need for more people who are interested in STEM careers, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths, to be empowered in this regard. Ati, I think I myself as a young person would have benefited from this app that you have come up with, because maths was not my strength when I was growing up. So please, can you just take this opportunity to share with us your journey, how as a young woman you left South Africa, you went to come and study here in the United Kingdom, and then you ended up establishing your own company in the United Kingdom. Over to you. Please unmute.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pumela. And thank you so much to Brand South Africa for this opportunity. So as a matter of introduction, I'm from the Eastern Cape in South Africa, and currently I'm based in Scotland. So I'm the founder, as Pumela mentioned, of Beta Sigma X, which is essentially a math software, which is really created to help learners improve mathematics. So the reason I actually started this was because, one, the World Economic Forum Global Competitive Index has been rating South African maths as number last in the world for a couple of years. And coming from a STEM background, we have realized that, you know, mathematics actually acts as a barrier to entry to a lot of careers at a university level. So there are a lot of learners who would be interested to become either actuaries, accountants, engineers, you know, data analysts, and so many more, but they usually are not able to get into those opportunities mainly because of their mathematics or how they are performing in their maths. So, which was one of the reasons why we then decided to launch this for primary as well as high school kids. And also, if you realize currently right now, we are in an industrial revolution where we are in the fourth industrial revolution where, you know, the way we use technology is changing, the way the skills that are needed for the future are also are changing as well. And in order to participate, especially for young people, to participate effectively in this 4IR revolution, we have to ensure that their skill set is actually improved. So yeah, so that's basically the history about why I decided to create the social impact startup. So my journey is, initially I had started the startup in South Africa where we had done a couple of pilots. And when I moved to the United Kingdom, I was given an opportunity to become part of the World Bank Youth Summit, which I was invited to by the World Bank in Washington, D.C. So at the time, that was in 2018, and at the time, the World Bank Youth Summit was focusing on using educational technology to increase human capital, and which is the skill set of, you know, people currently in developing as well as developed countries. So what that signified to me was that maybe the work that I was doing with Beta Sigma X actually was impactful if I would get such an invitation. And when I completed my master's degree, I got an opportunity by my business school, which is the Edinburgh Business School Incubator, to actually incubate the startup for scale here in the UK. And the main reason they wanted to do that was because they felt that as much as the product is mainly focused for South Africans learners, there was a similar problem here in the UK where a lot of learners didn't gain entry to STEM because of how they were performing in mathematics, and they liked the fact that we were using interesting technologies. So yeah, so then I then got this opportunity with the incubator to then be based in the UK, and which is now, I think that started in 2020, and then it's still currently going on. So I think overall, when it comes to women-owned businesses, for some reason, there is quite a subconscious bias. And the main difficulties, as the other speakers have mentioned, one are in the access to capital, which is the access to funding. So according to the Harvard Business Review article that was released in February this year, in 2019, there were only 2.8% of venture, there was only 2.8% of venture capital that actually went to female-owned businesses. That was in 2019. In 2020, because of the impact of the pandemic, that number actually decreased. And now there was only about 2.3% of funding that actually went to female-owned businesses. And the other reason for that is that when it comes to decision makers, which is people that are partners in either private equity funds or venture capital funds, a lot of them are males, and sometimes they view female-owned businesses as pretty risky. So I think that's definitely one of the challenges that I think women businesses still face. And I think the other challenge that I've seen that women businesses also face is access to market. And I like the fact that, for example, the ambassador, as well as Ms. Cindy Chabalala, mentioned that there's all these platforms that they are building and that they're creating in order to support women businesses and to give them access to markets. So I think we've had instances, for example, where we've either gone to private schools and businesses will essentially say to us, well, we've been using the specific supplier for the past 20 years. So those are still some of the barriers that I think are still faced, that still exist in the market. And hopefully She Trades and all of these other innovations that have been mentioned today can actually help few female-owned businesses. I know this year, as Pumela mentioned, is the year of Charlotte Maxeke. And literally, I can say that I'm actually here today because of all the work that was done by the women who marched in 1956. And I think that march actually created a very ripple effect for opportunities that we are now getting as women. So I think generally that's just been my journey so far. I think it is quite exciting. So I meet a lot of challenges along the way. But I think when it comes to running a business, you really have to love what you do and be very be very passionate about it. And I think one of the reasons that we do what we do is Africa, the biggest advantage that Africa has over any other continents, whether it's the EU or the US or China, is that we have a relatively very young population. So the current challenge with that young population is that it is lacking in skill set. So, and right now with the Africa Free Trade Agreement coming into play with about 52 member countries, it's currently the biggest agreement. So in order to unlock that effectively, we need to increase our human capital. And I think that is the reason why we're doing what we're doing. And yeah, I think so that's been the journey so far. I think as a parting shot, what I would say is that women have made I think, a lot of strides in their businesses, and really things such as increasing procurement and really supporting women businesses financially and giving them access to markets is I think quite fundamental. And also it is quite important, I think, to include young people as well as women when it comes to policy making and policy making decisions, because when policies are made that then come to market and women are not there, then generally we can see pretty much some biases. So yeah, so I think so far that has been my journey. It's still growing because our startup is still pretty much very early stage, and we are hoping to be growing across South Africa as well as the UK in the next year or two. So yeah, I think that is. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ati. It is great to see young people rising up to close the skills gap, particularly in the area of science, technology, engineering, and maths. So well done for what you are doing. Some people refer to you as a maths boffin. So big up to you, if I may use young people's language. Thank you, Ati. We'll come back to you in terms of questions. Now, we go to our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Her name is Renchia Droganis. She is the founder and the CEO of Africology. Metaphysical therapist, healer, innovator, Renchia Droganis is the CEO and founder of Africology. Informed by years of scientific research, scientific studies, and her natural healer intuition, Renchia has created an authentic spa range that comprises of organic, fair trade, and ethically formulated products. Renchia manifested a journey of growth, combining her inherent love of healing with determination to create an authentic business that would uplift herself and those around her. So through her authenticity, she expresses it through the work that she does with Africology, and she takes this through even in the manufacturing process in terms of the ethos that the company has. And with passion in her heart and a clear and powerful vision for the future, Africology now distributes to over 350 five-star spas across the world. And Africology continues, ladies and gentlemen, to be Africa's leading natural beauty and skincare brand. Renchia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Can you please share with us how you moved from creating bespoke skincare products containing essential oils at home to manufacturing on a large scale and supplying over 350 five-star establishments?
Pumela, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's just so fabulous to listen to all these incredible women, and it's just fabulous that women can awaken themselves to their full potential, to connect with what they love, and turn their passion into business. So my journey started in the late 90s, where I did a lot of massages, crystal healing, just loved aromatherapy and just wanted to do really good work. So started off with a studio at home and making little products for my clients. Like Mandisa said earlier on, when it's your time, it's your time. The universe will always open up the doors for you. And that's exactly what happened for me. I was kind of discovered by a hotel spa and asked to create a body wrap. I knew in my heart that creating healing products is what I loved. And I didn't let my inexperience of how to create something for a spa limit me and say, no, I can't do it. I said, yes, I can. And I believe that if we're brave enough and we say, yes, I can, because that's your passion and it's what you love, the universe will always open up doors and opportunities for you. So you have to be ready to want to be magnificent in business and business to start happening for you. If that is not who you are and it's not your passion, no matter how hard you're going to try, it's not going to happen for you. So over the years, from just starting manufacturing things in my own kitchen, small manufacturing facility, and all my children's bedrooms became storerooms, things just kept opening up, just opened up for us. Eventually we moved out of the house, and I was brave enough to say, I'm going to take that factory facility. I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for the rentals, but I knew in my heart that I needed it. And really, because I knew I was trying my best and doing my best, I could put my faith in God's hands. And we did. Business just started happening. And today I'm proud to say that we've got a huge facility with a manufacturing vessel, so we don't have to have pots in the kitchen anymore. But the beauty is that as we've grown, we've been able to learn a little bit more. And as I said, when we start off small, we don't know everything. But we need to do our own due diligence and learn how to get to the next place, because you can't only rely on luck. So knowing the different opportunities in the global market, the rules, the regulations, it takes an incredible amount of hard work to study those, to find out, because each country have a different rule. Having cash available to expand into a new territory is really big. We've learned a lesson. We had a beautiful store in Covent Gardens, and it just went incredibly well. But doing business globally, you need 12 months upfront rentals. So if a pandemic like COVID happened, do you have cash behind you that can sustain you? These are very important investment planning that's needed when you want to do brick and mortar overseas. But times have changed and online has become the new norm. So now we're learning how to also expand our global trade online, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. Not neglecting that we still have distributors in Turkey. We have a beautiful new store opening up in Turkey. We have an Africology spa in Luxembourg. So these processes are very important to sustain and to keep them functional. But again, know your business, understand the global industry, understand the rules, the regulations. Trademarks are hugely expensive. So you can't just register your trademark in one country, you have to register it globally. So by just doing that, you already need a good 3 to 4 million rand upfront to secure your trade. So preparing for the global market is incredibly important, so that if there's any obstacles, you have the financial means to overcome that. So be brave, be well educated, don't stop researching, and you can do that. And that's my story.
Thank you so much, Rensha, for sharing your story. I think what is key to what you just said and what is encouraging to most women is that you have said, number one, start small. And number two, you said, turn your passion into business. And this is exactly what you have done, which will be an inspiration to many women and men. I have just had a confirmation from our counterpart in the South African High Commission in London, a gentleman, Mr. Solom Zimhlana, who's just sent me a picture of the products that he has from Africology. So you have support across the board. And so it is encouraging that you've shared your journey, and there are people who are either at the beginning of their journey that you've gone through. I know, for example, that there are some who have joined and are wanting to start what you started. And there are those who are here admiring the products that you have created for them because they speak to them. Thank you for the tips that you've also shared in terms of entering the markets, because this is what this session is about. It's about us being real about what has happened in our journeys and just sharing our authentic stories. I also appreciate that you've mentioned that given the challenges that COVID has presented, you then went online. And that is the agility that is required from us in these trying times that we live in under a pandemic, that you move from, in some premises, from physical to online. And that seems to be going well, because you've now even mentioned other countries, Turkey, Luxembourg. So well done on that. And thank you for, that you've created a brand which, in the name of Africology, which has now become Africa's most respected brand in its field. Thank you for that. May you continue to do more. Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to our next speaker. And this is a person who wears two hats, ladies and gentlemen. She is the founder of the African Women in Europe, and she's also the CEO of the African Women in Trade. Her name is Joy Wanjiru Machugu Zens. Joy Wanjiru Machugu Zens is the founder of African Women in Europe. She's the CEO of African Women in Trade and Africa Market in Europe. She's the chairlady of the African Women in Europe Diaspora, and she has received several awards, including the African Business Support Award in Amsterdam. She's also won an award for being an African Diaspora Living Legend in Germany. She's also the author of books which share true stories of experiences and reflections of women who are based in the diaspora. And she's also, we appreciate what you've done because you've mobilized other women so that they could take their remittances in a way that they could develop their home countries. And in this particular, you made sure that you gather women from Kenya, which is your home country, whilst you're in Europe, to be able to, what we call in South Africa, to plow back into their country. It's a pleasure to have you, Ms. Joy Zens. Over to you. Share with us what your organizations are doing and how women can tap into this network and the wisdom that you have around women and trade globally.
Thank you so much for having me on here, and happy Women's Day, happy Women's Month, the South Africa. And I'm actually delighted to be here celebrating another women's achievement, knowing like 31st of July was the official African Union Women's Day, that 31st, and we celebrated with a lot of excitement of women achievement. And I'm one of the women who are very passionate about women, and especially being diaspora, as you said, I'm based in Germany. And I also want to applaud you as well, Pumela. You do amazing work. You're representing exactly who we are as African women in the diaspora, meaning basically here in Europe. I'm going to share with you what we have done, the good practice as African diaspora, because I think this should also go beyond just us. As you heard from all our listeners, we need to encourage more women. We need to share more information. By sharing best practice is the best way to do. As you all know, some of you, is that I'm a woman of action. So I have really worked with a team of women that we do together to work to make sure that we improve ourselves here in Europe, at the same time also improve back at home. So I'm going to share the best practice, what we have done, and I'll be sharing my screen. I hope you can see that. And the whole idea is to know why the African diaspora are the bridge to the African economic development, and especially the women. So in this area, I'm going to share more about our vision, how we started around 15 years ago. So we started officially on 2008, registered here in Germany, and our aims of objectives were reflecting according to what we needed. So this is very important, the design thinking of finding out what our issues, what do we want to solve. And all these objectives and aims, they didn't come up all together. We all started with finding out who, empowering each other, supporting entrepreneurs, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs here in Europe, but nobody knows about them. So we started reflecting a positive image of a woman. Some of you are in Europe, you know how the image is not well reflected during those days, but it's improving by showing out, showcasing who we are, and sharing information, which is a very big issue when it comes to women, and also the whole generation, because when information is shared, it's more useful to more people and encourages more women to be able to access this information. This is the area that I will talk a lot in the both aspects that I'm going to share today. And connecting, forming partnership is one of the best parts that I love so much. Women connecting, just creating a platform where women can find each other. UK, Germany, Holland, Switzerland, Norway, amazing women doing amazing work in all areas. And how we do that, we also meet because we are women, we want to get to know each other. We have events, awards acknowledging what the women are doing. And this is so important because knowing the competition here in Europe is very high. We need to recognize women, what they're doing in the area. And we also combine it with conferences and workshops. And these workshops are actually tailor-made to empower the women in areas of their needs. It could be businesses, it could be how to start trading, like now that we're going in this area, after Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is a very special area. I'll talk about that shortly. And then also working, performing, also giving out classes. We have a lot of courses that we can share, skills that we have gained here in diaspora. How can we share within ourselves and also about in our communities back at home? So we do have also all this, and GPS mentorship. Mentorship is a very big thing, especially when you're coming to Europe. You don't want to come from a scratch. And all this comes out together because you also bring out the best out of it in terms even of writing and sharing with you that you can read, as the book was mentioned there earlier by Pumela. And so investment is one of our last that happened over 10 years, after 10 years at anniversary, where we decided we are going to now go back home. What can we give back? And what are the opportunities that are there? Some of these projects that are in the African Women in Trade in Europe is something that I've developed according to the needs and the want of the women. So going back to the objectives and the end, these are some of the products that we have at the moment. We created a platform where we could talk whatever we want on our app. We have the African market in Europe, where now our members can put their products there, because they have a lot of wealth of it. And sometimes it's very hard to know where to get this information. So we created a space for that. And our academy is the one where we share skills and knowledge as we really get into knowing what specialties or which areas can we help the women in. And apart from that, there is the Africa Women Diaspora Circle for Kenyans. So I know when you go back home, I can hear all of you, even Pumela is going to South Africa, branding South Africa. So we also have to go back where we know best, because that's where we can start very well. So we started with the Awe Diaspora Circle. Actually, this is also in South Africa. I came to realize after mingling with people, you realize there's so much potential that diaspora you can gain in investing together collectively, knowing how much the remittance money we're sending back home is going to use for consumption. How about empowering ourselves, working very hard, creating wealth for ourselves, and also supporting entrepreneurs. The specific part of the Diaspora Circle is to support the entrepreneurs in Kenya, getting funding and finance to be able to continue in their next stages. And there's a lot of achievements that we have achieved through that. As you can see, we launched the Our Book Volume 1, and that's the one you see there. The Volume 2 is just released today, actually, no, 2-3 weeks ago, and that's the book that you see here. Another women volunteering, sharing their stories. These are also entrepreneurs and also women doing amazing work here in Europe and as well across the globe of the world. So we're also having awards, and we shared this very powerfully through awards last year. Oh no, actually it was this year. It feels like a long time ago. We were 64 women doing amazing work, not only here in Europe, also in Africa. These also being extended in different areas. But how are we as a women, as a diaspora, looking at this opportunity is in Africa now, and especially like now we're going past a post-pandemic period. There are different ways you can do as diaspora, as I said, mobilizing and forming organizations like ours, and also like South African group can mobilize themselves, specifically targeting particular areas and groups. But African Women, we went for more the continent. You can always this building networking platform that aim to support the entrepreneur on the continent, or the areas that you really think that is the need. And as sharing diaspora skills and knowledge, there's a lot of wealth that diaspora can really share. I'm not saying the diaspora to go to Africa to really come and bring all the European way of life, because we don't believe this is what would work there. The solutions, what we believe, is down there, listening and learning. And this is where I'll be talking about more in the area that how we did it and how you can also gain from that. So there's a lot of strength in this as diaspora. So if you listening from me, living in UK, in Germany, in Switzerland, or even in US, there is a lot that you can do when you come together and having the bicultural way. Being born in Africa is an advantage, and being here in Europe, you pick the best of the part. And I believe the diaspora have the best package, the culture that will bring the development, the continent in a next level. And this, we have seen that has already been recognized anyway already on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, also in the African Union. We have now seen that we are being recognized and the doors are opening up for the diaspora. So take up this opportunity and be part of the development of our continent, especially in the country where you come from, in the community where you live. And so this, you can bring the strengths along your bridges to connect both continents when it comes to products and services. As you can hear here, there's a product come from South Africa to UK. These are something that you can do. And I'll share this, the best practice, what we have done in the past years. So also, we also think about also all this is not possible. We do not have support from the government support, especially where we come to building connections, especially in the trade. We need to have some few things actively possible, especially when it comes to taxation. If there are government people listening here, this is somewhere you could really support the diasporans to be able to come to invest, easing up the taxation, especially in the diaspora body government, that really help us to understand which areas should we really tackle in. Because when we come there, some of us diaspora have really been damaged. Money, we've lost money. My members every day talk about how they build a house that never was there. So how can the government have the diaspora body in each and every country to make sure that the diaspora really get the best areas that they can really invest and build the economy of that, because this money lost. So this is one of our babies, African Women in Trade. That came out in January this year, and I'm really, really proud of this product. It's part of the Us Diaspora coming back to Africa to really give back and see how we can really work together and partnering with other organizations in the continent. So African Women in Trade is a baby of African Women in Europe, and very proud of the progress that it's doing right now. And it has now its own vision. It's standing on its own slowly by slowly, to be able to roll out in the partnership with the diaspora as well here in Europe. So our vision for the African Women in Trade is to create our biggest purpose to connect African women and youth in trade in the whole continent and across the globe. This is not just the women. We believe on our youth, who we call our children, and we are so excited to work with them. And we have seen a lot of progress in this, following up the mission. As I mentioned, we are working very closely with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Our areas basically is to encourage the regional trading, first of all in the country, and then going beyond countries and looking at the other neighboring countries, and then encouraging externally, which is a global like Europe. But at the moment, we have seen the low-hanging fruits is still in the Europe market. But we diaspora, we can really be part of this as well, being the leaders in these areas. And we have done this following our goals, mobilizing women. We have done that already, creating platforms, as I mentioned. We have over 4,000 women now on the platform, trading among each other, connecting with each other, even in the country itself, and also across countries, and informing information, capability building. We are also sharing, and finance, because these are part of the issues that were brought up. Some of these goals you see here, we didn't bring it up as African Women in Europe. We had a survey where we asked, as I told you, we work with design thinking, finding out what do our members on the ground, especially the women on the ground, what are their issues? So they gave us the information. And the most important one, I was so amazed. I thought the finance would be the first one, but it was market access that was a big issue. So we are revamping all these up again and focusing more on 3 pillars, as we mentioned there, in capacity building, access for finance, which is part of the growing and moving to the next level. And we are also going to work more into the area of market access. So this is 3 pillars that we'll be focusing on in the next half of this year. And this is coming up as we speak right now. As from September, we'll be focusing on the 3 areas, which we have seen already good feedbacks by practicing some of these objectives. So our area of interest will be basically agriculture right now. We are also looking at export and import in the area of the agriculture, health sector, finance, we're already going through it, for youth programs and women programs like this, what is happening today with Shawa people and manufacturing industry. We've noticed a lot of women are in these sectors as well as IT, which is missing on this platform, on this PowerPoint. So, but how do you start all this? So, if you're diaspora thinking to go back to invest back home, you need to work on the values, because this is the biggest part of doing any business with anyone. We need to build trust relationship, we need collaboration, we need respect, knowing we come from different cultures, from the south to the east to the west to the north. They all have different cultures, and how to work around that. And this has been a very successful way within the 6 months now since we worked on. We focus only on this particular part as we build up the other objectives and aims that we wanted to see what other support can we support as African women in Europe. And we have already got success. As you can see there, we saw women within each other exchanging ideas of products they wanted, and also African women in trade. We have identified already 2 products that we can really put our fingers on fire, saying that this coffee is ready for Europe, you can take it. And actually, and we have also certified that we have a logo on the products saying that we are also part of this as a story, because we believe women supporting, being, for example, in the coffee industry, being able to produce the coffee, package the coffee, and it's running the supply, as we all talked about, building the supply chain. We have noticed that there's quite a lot of areas that we need to connect to be able to bring a finished product, value-added products, because this is an issue here in Europe. As you all know, we buy a lot of raw materials. We want to buy value-added, and that's creating jobs in the country, not here. So this is one of our philosophy as well. So Master Tea is another one from Nigeria. This has already moved from South Africa, from Nigeria all the way to South Africa, already selling there. So if you're a friend of Master Tea, and they have very, very good teas, and these are more healthy teas, so you can also check on that also on our website and also on their platform. So another part that is also good, that we are, as diaspora, we have so many opportunities here, and we, as we were told by the UN Women representative, Madam Anne Izoko, she's mentioned that we need to pass information to our women. And these are the kind of opportunities. We hear a lot of grants going on here. We receive them, okay, there's this opportunity, but we don't know who to give these opportunities to, or how do we connect with the people on the ground. So these are opportunities where now with the African Women in Trade, we have already spotted one, and we have seen a lot of diaspora partnering with businesses back at home. Myself, my sister is already having cows at home, and others have started small businesses with the grants. These are all free grants going on from Germany, Switzerland, France. And if you're still interested with this, you can follow us. We always give this information. The program is still going on. So it's a very powerful way where the combination of the diaspora and so you're asking now, how do I get started? Yes, yes, the time to start is now, right? Invest in government bonds. So many different way of investing at the moment. If you are not ready to start a business, like I was mentioning, in most of the countries in Africa, the interest rates are very high. The government are using these money bonds to be able to create infrastructure that is very much needed at the moment as we follow up the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It will not be possible if we don't have roads and all that. So that way is already one way you can start supporting Black businesses. Let's start buying products from our friends, from African shops here in Europe, even online. And this is the way we can also support them and find out investment opportunity for African businesses in your area. selling their product. Like now we have a coffee, we are looking for diaspora to, it's already on the way. I think it's already in Europe. I'm just supposed to wait to receive my first coffee samples so that we can start selling them here in Europe as a product of our own. So there's so much outside there. So I'm encouraging new diaspora out there and the combination with the women in Africa doing businesses, entrepreneur. Check out on us. That's our connection, Africa Women in Europe.eu. I think one of my colleagues shared the links already on the chat so that we can call. So thank you so much for this and allowing me the opportunity to come share about who we are and what we do. And thank you so much, Pumela, for that.
Thank you very much, Sister Joy. You will notice, ladies and gentlemen, we call each other sisters because we have become this circle of women who support each other across the world. You are also welcome to call her Sister Sister Joy. And as much as she is also then the CEO of African Women in Trade and African Women in Europe, sharing with you practical examples and practical details of how you can become part of this network. And this was what today was about, ladies and gentlemen, that you must come out of here knowing the kind of support that you can have for you to be able to go global. Sister Joy, I think you've also answered through your presentation a question that came from Facebook from Makhatebe Mamti Bungane, who had asked if she can be, taught how to gain access to global markets. So I think, Mama Makhatebe, where you are, you have been answered. And as I've indicated in the beginning, we have more than 1,000 women joining us from different platforms, from YouTube, from Zoom, from Facebook, in different, organizations. So we are grateful for your presence here. We don't take it for granted. We want to ensure, using a South African local term, we want to make the circle bigger, if I may put it that way. Without further ado, let's go and see what's upcoming. And then after, we're going to have what we called our bonus speaker, who is going to be sharing on her journey on how she moved into being an award-winning international businesswoman. But after this video, that will be inviting you to something else that's still more exciting.
Join Africa's largest trade and investment fair in South Africa. Intra-African Trade Fair gives you access to more than 1,100 exhibitors and 10,000 visitors and buyers and more than 5,000 conference delegates. More than 55 countries participate in trade and investment deals worth $40 billion as business and government come together to explore business and networking opportunities at the international exhibition. Brought to you by the African Export-Import Bank and their premium partners, the IATF 2021, Transforming Africa.
Wonderful. You see, all roads are leading to South Africa in November for a bigger platform that will be discussing trade and investment amongst different countries. So you are all welcome to come to South Africa for this international conference. Now, we have been promising you that we have a speaker by the name of Penny Streeter, OBE, who was given an award by the Queen, award by the Chamber of Commerce in the United Kingdom. She really is an award-winning international businesswoman. Her story is humbling. She's one of the most successful women entrepreneurs in South Africa and the United Kingdom. At one time, she was living in a home as a refugee with 3 children, and she has since built a business empire from a startup out of sheer hard work and tenacity. Her medical recruitment agency, A24 Group, which she founded in 1996, achieved rapid growth through an outstanding business model that she created. And now the firm employs a number of healthcare professionals in the United Kingdom and in South Africa. And since 2016, Penny has built a major wine, hospitality, and leisure business across both countries by the name of Benguela Collection. Penny, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Your story is very touching. I mean, at one stage, you were a refugee in a home with children in the UK, and now you have the OBE title next to you. Those who are in the UK knows how important this title is, as it can only be bestowed by the Queen. So tell us, what does it take to make it out there? What have you learned in the journey? What are the do's and what are the don'ts?
Okay, fantastic. Happy to tell you all, share all of this with you. Effectively, my story, Pumela, started off. Basically, I was born in Zimbabwe and I was educated in Alberton in Johannesburg. I was probably a very naughty child and I didn't complete my matric, and so I've actually got no education to my name either, which I suppose is not something to be particularly proud of, but I have achieved it despite that. I'm going to, as you've mentioned, I'm the founder of the A24 Group. It's a business that I founded alongside my mother 25 years ago. And we founded this business in the UK at a time when, you know, neither of us had nothing. Our story, if I jump back a little bit further than that, we actually started our first business when I was 19. Again, it was myself and my mum. And, you know, we went headlong into this business and bought everything that we possibly could to, you know, I don't know, nice office equipment, etc., got bank loans. And unfortunately, sort of the economy in the UK at that time collapsed. There was a big property decline and our business went bust. And it was a very, very traumatic time for us. What I did is I picked up my children and came back to South Africa, and I was working in Johannesburg at that time with my sister co-running a restaurant. So that gave me a bit of a hospitality background. However, I decided to return to the UK. I got divorced, and as you've mentioned, I was living in homeless accommodation. So literally for me, it was rock bottom. I had a newborn baby plus 2 other small children. My marriage broke down, so I really was on my own. Luckily for me, I had a school friend from Johannesburg who said to me, look, you know, if you want to set up your business again, I'll lend you a corner of our offices. So, you know, very much into that South African network. And effectively this time, my mum and I set up the business. One day she would look after the children and the next day I would. And that was how we did it. We did it with absolutely no funding. Nobody was going to lend us money. We were, you know, completely flat broke. And, you know, I suppose it was just the tenacity and drive. I looked at my children and I thought, oh my goodness, who's going to pay for these kids? Who's going to support them? And it literally came down to me. And that was one of the things that really sort of drove me to succeed. And I think, you know, when you look at women in business and look at the qualities that we bring to the table as business people, as entrepreneurs, those are the key things. Because we've got kids, we tend to be fantastic multitaskers. We tend to be loyal. We tend to really look at all avenues. So we're really resourceful. So when I say I started my business with no money, you know, those are the kind of things I think that a lot of women can do because we're resourceful. We're used to, you know, feeding our kids, clothing our kids, perhaps on very little income. So those sort of things are, for me, really important. I continue to sort of focus on my business, and, you know, today that business, well, let's take a step back. The business, I got a phone call in the UK from the Sunday Times who said to me, do you realize that your business is a fast-growing business? I said to them, no, not really. I'm just working really hard. And they said, well, it's not only a fast-growth business, it's actually the fastest-growing business in the UK. And our company at that time literally got that award for being the fastest-growing business. And it was achieved, I suppose, by just, you know, pure hard work and sweat. We literally reinvested every penny that we earned back into the business. And, you know, the rest sort of, as we say, is pretty much history. What happened in in order to sort of become, I suppose, more international. The world started to change. I think the world's become a much smaller place, and it was one day when I actually got some time off from work, got back to Cape Town, and I was sitting with my husband looking at Table Mountain, and I said to him, "Wow, imagine we could run our UK business here from South Africa." And at that time, it was just beginning to open up. The internet cables and connectivity between South Africa and the rest of the world was really, coming to its own. And literally in that October of that year, we opened a headquarters in Cape Town, because we felt that having that kind of South African edge, for me, it was coming back to where I felt really comfortable. I think one of the things that has the reasons I've been successful, I've always put down to being a Southern African, because I think, the people as a whole are well educated, they're very customer driven, all of the things that businesses need. So for me, I was tapping into a great number of employees who had all of those skills. And, for us, we then opened 2 further nursing businesses in South Africa. So we actually operate nursing agencies. So we have 2 nursing agencies that operate throughout the South African market. Now, when we're talking about women in business and women, remember that as nursing agencies in both the UK and in South Africa, the predominance of people who are nurses, not all, are women though. So, huge networks of women that we tap into in this sort of regard. So both the businesses that we have, our nursing agencies in England and in South Africa, are still operating and thriving. And, our healthcare workers and nurses have really done fantastic work throughout both countries during the COVID-19 situation. For me, I have people running that business now, and I, as you alluded to, I suppose I'm now a serial entrepreneur, because if you can make it once in a business, can you do it again? And in 2013, I became the property developer of Benguela Cove Lagoon Estate in Hermanus. And at that, it's a property development, residential housing, so I'm the developer here. And I have also created a hospitality business on site. So we have a very large winery, restaurant, etc. So for me, coming from a recruitment and business background, coming into sort of a more hospitality friendly kind of environment's been really great. And the challenge was whether I could succeed in making a success of this business in much the same way as I have of my other. So I've applied all the same principles that, I've learnt. I continue to sort of be very tenacious, and it's interesting because globally, when you're in the wine market, we certainly find that being a female owner of a winery has been a huge positive for us. We find that we've got South Korean clients that like to do business with us because we're a women-led business. The same with our Chinese clients we have. And certainly in the US, it's a huge thing that they want to actually do business with female-led companies. So for me, that's really been interesting. So having the wine estate here in South Africa and the property development, for me, I also started to look at, okay, how can I look internationally and expand that business? And one of the things that I've done is I've now got 2 hospitality properties in the UK, both of them in West Sussex in England, and one is a gardens called Leonard's Lee Lakes and Gardens, and there we have created a South African style wine experience. We've got South Africa's second chef to achieve a Michelin star working in there, and we planted England's first Pinot grapes as well. So my feeling there was to create, down the road from that 3 miles, we've also got England's first golf and wine estate, which again has got vineyards, etc. Now tapping into what I think South Africa does fantastically, which is our hospitality and our wine businesses. and taking that kind of experience to the UK so that people can experience firsthand the warmth of South African hospitality. They can see why we're, you know, one of the tops in the world for being in the wine business, and they can really sort of enjoy that whole sort of South African experience. And I hope that in turn that then creates a conduit of investment, people visiting South Africa, and a real good feeling about the country. I suppose I would end. I don't want to drone on at you all day, but I suppose I would end by saying that you know, my message to any woman out there who's looking to start their own business and feels, perhaps I haven't, you know, have I got the right education? Do I need to do a degree? You know, do I need money? I actually don't think any of those things are barriers to success. I think what you need to do is come up with a good idea, think about what you're doing, and apply yourself, and really, really, really work hard. And, you know, I think there's no limit to what can be achieved.
So much, Penny. That is so inspirational. I think the one word that comes into my mind when I think about what you've just shared is the word resilience. You have an ability to rise against all odds, no matter what life has thrown at you. The proverbial, when life throws you lemon, make lemonade. So thank you for being an inspiration to other women who are joining us in the platform today, to know that they too have it within them to make it happen. Thank you very much, Penny, for the gift of your time. Thank you. And thanks for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to quickly go through to the questions that you've asked. I believe that on Zoom, there is a great networking session going on there. People are exchanging numbers. Those who had registered to enter the webinar, apparently exchanging numbers, getting to know each other. We encourage that. Keep on doing that. And also our team at Brand South Africa is going to share in the Zoom platform the various handles within which you can reach our speakers today, so that you can also contact them through their social media platform. So keep networking, keep talking amongst each other. This is what Brand South Africa has created this platform for women to be able to interact, for progressive men to be able to support women, so that we can all be able to be partakers in the global economy. Madam N. Githuku Shongwe, may I please start with you with a question from the audience? It's a question from Zamam Kosi. She says she's interested in the value chain analysis program. She's asking whether this program is limited only to agriculture, or does it work on other sectors as well? May you please answer that, Madam N?
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the wonderful conversations. This was really, really wonderful. Just to say that, no, our value chains actually have gone beyond agriculture. So agriculture is the big one just because of the economies of Africa and most countries. You know, there is a big focus on agriculture, but there is also the steel industry, infrastructure in general, and energy. Those are the other ones. But I do know that the Continental Free Trade Agreement, that across Africa there are multiple value chains that are being looked at. But these three, I think, would be the headline ones, and agriculture for sure the biggest one. So I think that's my first response to your question, Pumela.
Thank you very much, Madam N. Now let's come to the president of the Circle of Global Business Women. There's a question of how does one become part of the Circle of Business Women? She says she's a South African with a business in South Africa and Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Madam Sister Pumela. It's easy to become a member for the Circle of Global Business Women. I'm going to give the contact details. Please contact us on info@cgbw.co.za. But also we have a country strategy. We have our country presidents actually attending this platform today from Australia, from UAE, Ghana, USA, Pakistan, South Africa, Lesotho, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. We have already started engaging with High Commissioner of South Africa in Rwanda so that we can have a country president as well in Rwanda so that we'll be able to actually network with business women in Rwanda and connect to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next one is for Sister Joy. Sister Joy, the women want to know how can they get the support in agriculture and green energy? I know that in your presentation, you mentioned the various sectors. Please just share, maybe for the benefit of those who just want a summary of how they can get the support.
Yes, thank you for that. For now, the best way to do is to join africawomenintrade.com. And I've shared the links as well on the chat. And from there, you'll be able to follow up so many opportunities that are there for you, depending on what you're doing. Agriculture is a very big area, even in tech. We're also looking in that, in e-commerce as well. And most of the information we share there and also on our website, which is being revamped up again. And the green economy definitely is something that we're looking very closely, how we can support. And as I always say, we work in a design thinking. What do you need from us? And from there, we help you the other way around. You can also reach me on email, africawomenintrade@gmail.com, and tell us what you do, then we see what support we can do, because there's a lot of opportunities that are out there, but we need to really specify. Each person has specific issues. So thank you for that. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you very much. Let us bring back then Madam President Cindy with a question that says, where do we find information about the petroleum industry opportunities for women in South Africa, especially Cape Town? This one is interested in the buying of fuel and the transportation of fuel.
Thank you, Sister Pumela. We have an organization in South Africa called the South African Women in Mining, which is called SAWIMA. I would also encourage my sister who has asked this question to actually send us an inquiry so that we can refer her to South African Women in Mining in South Africa, because we are strategic partners. We work together as women formations in the country so that she'll be able to be directed in terms of getting access to opportunities as well, and make sure that she gets what she wants. But also the sector of global business women, we have a sector that deals with that. So we'll be able to actually assist her in terms of facilitating. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. May I ask Renchia to come in? Renchia, there's a question about, someone who actually has started her own range, but she's just at the beginning. So she would like you to just give a word of encouragement in terms of how she can grow her products from where she is right now, where she has started at home.
Okay, so if she's still at home, I think it's important to start off with your brand communication, to set your intention. So you've got your products. What is it that your products is going to deliver? What is the effect that it's going to have on the consumer or the person that's going to use your products? Once you are able to identify that and put it into a document, you can then turn it into your marketing document. Because whatever you're going to convey to the consumer needs to be authentic and real, so that when they do put it on their skin, they can feel your heart. They know that what you intended to create is what they're going to experience. And always remember, there's so many platforms today, more than I had when I started so many years ago. You've got your Instagram pages, you've got your Facebook that you can start communicating. Then collect your data, do your newsletters, and speak your heart, speak your brand. From there, things start opening up, and then you'll connect with more followers, and the one person will start telling the other person. But really key for me was to identify the intention of what you create. Can you put it to words, and can you start conveying your intention? That is really, really important. Hope that helps.
Thank you very much. And finally, one for you, Penny. the question is about how do you get the courage to diversify your portfolio? How do you know which sectors to venture into and when? Is it intuition? Is it research? How do you go about making that decision to diversify? This question is based on the fact that you have been involved in various sectors. You've diversified your business.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that you've got to be really, really careful, because I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, male and female, that have been so successful in their line of business, but they're successful because they know that business inside and out. And sometimes when they step out of that and do something differently, they fail miserably. So I think for me, it was a huge risk that, you know, making that choice to go and do something absolutely different. And of course, throughout my business, I've had the naysayers who say, don't do that, be careful, you know, it's going to go wrong. And I think what you have to do is you just have to really, I don't know, absorb yourself into the business that you're going to go into, and make sure you're actually absolutely passionate about it, and that you learn as much about that business and its competitors to give yourself that real edge, because you've got to come up with something that's slightly different, that's going to make you stand out from the crowd.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much. That is very, very helpful. And I hope that the person that has asked the question really has received that. And even those who have not, really, I think that's a very powerful nugget for us to learn from. Now, let me ask Ati, as a young person, to do the closing remarks on behalf of the speakers. Then I will come in and close in the session. Remember, you can stay on the Zoom and network for the next 30 minutes, but we are going to close off the session after Ati has spoken, because I'm told that the networking is not stopping on Zoom. Men and women are exchanging numbers. Others are saying that another WhatsApp group of this group that is watching formed. Others are changing numbers. This is what we like to see. So we're not going to stop you from networking for the next 30 minutes. However, Ati, I want you to encourage young people. You've taken this journey. You're from South Africa, and any young person from any, where across Africa who wants to go overseas and the opportunities that are there, and also share with us the support that you got from your university specifically, because I think many young people don't know that their educational institutions can give them the necessary support. What are your thoughts, Ati?
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. I think I'll just start with the last question in terms of universities. So I think if you are a young person right now, there's usually a lot of incubators that are available across the UK, across the US, that you can have access to. So in my case, some of them give funding, some of them give work permits. A lot of business schools found that, they don't just want to be business schools. Instead, they want to be business schools that actually have businesses. So I think look for incubators if you're interested. Literally any country that usually has incubators. So that's one. And I just think from today, honestly, I have been so inspired by the panel, starting from the ambassador as well as, our last speaker, all the speakers. I think the stories were quite inspirational. So I think the first thing that I will say to anyone who's thinking of running their business or internationally or growing a career internationally, I'd say start where you are. Start where you are. You might feel maybe you are not adequate or you need more, but the reality is you need to have a little bit of courage and really do your research as well. And I think right now, with the passion that we're seeing with South Africans, the world is literally just, our market with connectivity and all of this being accessible. I think South Africans are pretty much ready. So I'd say young people anywhere, you do university or do whatever it is that you want to do, but you can also start, especially with e-commerce. It's so easy. And right now, I think everyone, hopefully you reach out to all the businesses and some of the speakers and some of the organizations that have been mentioned today. I think with the organizations that were mentioned, there's a lot of collaboration that can happen, and really just share the knowledge, share the information with people that couldn't make it here today. So yeah, so I hope you live with some inspiration as you go into the various paths of your life. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that our future is in good hands if we have young people like yourself, Ati. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I had promised that I'd also just share with you very briefly the relationship, the trade relationship between South Africa and the UK. And I'm just going to close it off with some interesting fast facts, which you probably didn't know in terms of the foreign direct investment flows between the two countries. One, it is worth noting that the UK, the United Kingdom, is one of South Africa's most important trading relationships. And what's interesting is that in terms of FDI from the UK to South Africa, most investments come in the area of business services. So a lot of investors are looking for South Africa to invest in South Africa's business services. And interestingly, the source regions where the investments in the UK come from are these particular regions: Southeast in the UK, Northwest in the UK, Scotland, East of England, Southwest in the UK, West Midlands, East Midlands, Northeast, Guernsey, and Jersey. So this is where the UK investments are coming from. Interestingly, South Africa is also investing into the United Kingdom. So it's a bilateral trade, it's a two-way trade relationship. What we find is that the South African foreign direct investment into the United Kingdom lies mainly in the area of software and IT services. And where South Africans are investing in the United Kingdom is in Greater London, Berkshire, Bristol, Devon, Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, Surrey, West Yorkshire, Agile, Cardiff, and then other administrative regions. So I thought those are interesting facts to share in terms of what is happening in terms of the actual foreign direct investment on the ground between South Africa and the UK. As you are aware, my role is that of being a UK country head for Brand South Africa. So it's important that we bring you these facts and figures and information about trade between South Africa and the United Kingdom. However, join me in conclusion in thanking our esteemed speakers who have taken time out of their busy schedule to be with us today, to empower us as women, to empower us as progressive men that support the cause of women. Her Excellency Ambassador Xolelwa Mlumbi Peter, Madame N. Githuku Shongwe, Madame Cindy Chabalala, Madame Ati Khweku, Madame Renchia Droganis, Madame Joy Zenz, and Madame Penny Streeter. Thank you so much for your time. I think let's give them a virtual clap. Everyone who's still on Zoom, just put a clap there on Zoom and thank each of the speakers for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be amiss for me not to thank the team. Firstly, at GCIS, who has partnered with us, I would like to thank Mr. Ayanda Holo. I call him a progressive man who supports the cause of women. Ms. Meme Mukhotsi, thank you very much. And the team at Brand South Africa has worked tirelessly. The digital team, Ms. Tando Mketsu, Mr. Brian Tembu, and Ms. Roxanne Francis. Thank you for the effort that you are putting to make sure that we have such platforms for people to be able to gain. In the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, I greeted you all, even though some of you could not hear me for some technical reason, but really it was about thanking you as excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the members of the Board of Trustees of Brand South Africa who are supporting us in the work that we are doing and who have joined today as we honor women, as we celebrate women, and to also recognize the men who are supporting women. This was a Brand South Africa hosted webinar with the theme Support Available for Women Who Wish to Trade Globally. May you continue to network with each other, connect with each other, ignite the spark within each other, and grow from strength to strength. Thank you for joining us.
My constitution is my responsibility. Being one of the best and most liberal legal documents in the world, it is the supreme law of our land. Therefore, it is my responsibility to protect our human dignity, to embrace inclusiveness of all, to unite us in our diversity, to protect our women against gender-based violence. Our Constitution enshrines our freedom. Be informed and empowered by our Constitution. Powered by Brand South Africa.